Hello everyone and welcome back to Life Redesigned. For those of you who are new here, I am Bob.
I'm Karri.
And in 2022 we sold everything we owned. We hit the road full time in our RV, and well, we make YouTube videos to counteract all the nonsense that's all over YouTube about how good, overly good, and how overly bad this lifestyle is. If that's something you want, is a little more honesty in your cup of coffee, hit the subscribe button and join our journey. 16,000 people, can't be wrong, in making this happen every day. But today, Karri, this is not about the BOB. We are at the ROB here in Lake City, South Carolina. We are at the Rob, and we are hanging out at Crossroads Coach RV Resort. We want to thank them for hosting us this month here. We've been having an amazing time urban camping, and we've had a lot of discussions with an awful lot of people about starting RV life. And what's what we're going to cover today's video. It's going to be all about what you need to know if you're going to be starting this lifestyle. And no, we're not going to try to sell you a mattress. We're not going to sell you a rubber pair of mittens for the bottom of your leveling jacks. We're just going to give you something that's missing sorely on YouTube. We're going to hit you with a double dose of the truth. Karri's going to read from the Book of Knowledge and cover everything that we heard inside this great little group of people. What's we got number one, Karri?
Expected costs.
Now, this is something that comes up all the time, is what do you do for an emergency? Just what kind of costs are you going to have associated? And the answer is, well, nobody can tell you but you. We like to tell you that if you're going to hit the road full time, that you should have at least a year's worth of money in the bank, meaning that if you spend $50,000 a year doing this lifestyle, you anticipate it, you should have that plus an extra 30% to cover just other stuff. Yes, this lifestyle can be expensive if you allow it to be. It also can be cheap if you allow it to be. You travel with your spouse who likes to spend money like it's water, that will happen. But the best part is you are in full control of what you spend, and make sure you have just a little bit for the stuff that you're not in control of. Next, we're having way too much fun here. Next, ma'am.
Wow. And that was, anyway, rent an RV first.
Now, this is something that, we didn't do, and maybe we should have, is rent that RV. If you're looking for a Class C's, I believe it's roadsidecampingamerica.com or whatever it is, that you can rent a Class C. But just know that when you're renting something, it has probably been rented by a whole lot of people. And so therefore it may not be the best experience, but at least you get an idea of how much room you need or don't need. There's also a lot of services where you can rent RVs from private individuals and take off as well, and the same disclaimer applies there. But at least it's a good idea to know if that is going to be something that you're going to want to do. The last thing you want to do is be like a lot of people who bought a rig because they believed something that they saw on YouTube or on TikTok or whatever the coolest social media trend is, and found out they get out there and, well, they were lied to, because that happens. Next.
Go as small as possible.
We are huge advocates for not so much tiny living, but just living as small as possible. We picked an RV that fit our purpose and was as small as possible so that we can get in and out of places like this and not have to worry about 50 amp service, not have to worry about, is there going to be a room for us, as far as length goes, because in this business, size does matter. And the last thing you want to do is roll in with your 55-foot rig and find out
they tell you no.
That ain't going to happen, especially if you want to do national parks and a lot of state parks. You're not going to get in with these monster rigs that everybody seems to be driving around all of a sudden. Next.
Internet options.
If you work full-time from the road and you need internet, you're going to need an internet provider that can get you there, and we recommend having backups upon backups. In fact, a channel sponsor that we have now, who's been a great resource for us on the road, Connectin, provides internet in the form of an eSIM from multiple carriers, and that is great, and the product works phenomenal if you're within coverage of a cellular signal, right? For those times that we're not, and there really hasn't been a whole lot, but there were quite a few spots in Texas and down in Florida where we've had to deploy Starlink because that was the only option. And there's been an awful lot of places that we've been to that Starlink wasn't an option and our only option was connected. So there is a balance, and if you're going to work from the road, make sure you cover your butt all the way around. Next one.
Yep, the gear you need.
Okay, so everybody does a top 5, top 8, top 9 list because, well, it's called Amazon affiliate links. And if you want to know what we recommend, well, you can click our Amazon affiliate links. The link is in the video description. However, it is big business for big channels to constantly tell you stuff that you need. And we're talking everything that you really don't. There's things that you have to have, right? You have to have basics. You have to have a water hose. You have to have a sewer hose. You need to have things to make sure you're okay. You know, safety tools, a first aid kit, things like that. You don't need those pads that go underneath your leveling jacks. You don't need a mattress that says RV at the end. You don't need a therapist to give you training on the road, and you sure as hell don't need a hype call from a couple of people that couldn't get the job done on their own. You need just to have fun and go as minimal as possible. In all seriousness, go with just the stuff that you need, not the stuff that everybody tells you you must have.
Yes, is domicile state.
Now, picking a domicile state is not as simple as just going, I'm going to be a resident of this state. You really need to put thought into it because everything that that state believes in is now what you believe in. If that state is of a political nature that you don't agree with, guess what? Too bad, Paco. You are now a Republican or you are now a Democrat, even if you don't want to be, because that's how your state voted. And this makes a big difference when you see laws change constantly in regards to domiciling. Pick a state that matches your criteria, that meets everything that you need, and do it the right way. Get a reputable service like myrvmail.com for Florida, who has been fantastic for us. Escapees is another great option out of Texas and South Dakota. And there's other little services along the way. Do your research, find out which one's going to work for you, and yes, those votes matter. Next one.
Know your health plan.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you'll be surprised if you have a little health plan from Massachusetts. It may not work in Florida, and it may not work, well, in California either. Call your insurance provider, check with them, tell them your plans. They're there to help you, and they'll work with you, and they'll tell you whether or not you're covered. And make sure, more importantly, that before you go, and sometimes, I mean, if it's an emergency, you can't help going to the doctors, but if you can, check to make sure you're in network.
Definitely.
And it's a big difference when you're not.
National memberships.
So national memberships, we use Costco is a great one.
Sam's Club.
Sam's Club is another one that's pretty solid. Planet Fitness is great because, well, I like to keep buff. Well, anyhow, I used to, and Planet Fitness is a great one to have for that type of membership. As far as RVs and camping and stuff like that, you want to look into Thousand Trails is a great one to save money camping on the road. There's Coast to Coast. There's Escapees. There's all these little memberships that can really help you on the road. The other part is don't buy too many of them because you will have a lot that you won't use. And like us, with the America the Beautiful Pass that we used one time. So you really got to pick and choose your memberships, make sure that they're going to line up with what you're looking for. And don't be afraid to Google how many Costco's are going to be on your trip, because the last thing you want is a Costco membership that you can't use for 3 months because there isn't one within a 1,200 mile radius. Just saying.
Yes.
I miss bacon. Next.
Getting your mail on the road.
Getting your mail on the road, and that goes back into domicile. Most of these companies that help you domicile will handle your mail for you. And we use MyRVMail out of Crestview, Florida. They've been fantastic. They're basically a mail forwarding service. They'll hold our mail, they'll send it to us wherever we want it to be, and it's great. And I have a legal address for my banking and stuff like that. It's very important to have that, and it's also very important not to lie. As we go back into this, as this ties in with domicile, do not lie about the state. In other words, if you have your Uncle Steve and you're hanging out with him and his best friend Louie, and they said, use our house for our address, eventually that will bite you in the ass, because the last thing you want is to be found out that you're not a resident of a state and you're avoiding taxes. And yes, we have heard stories of states like Minnesota and New York that have sued people for moving to Florida and under a domicile because they sued them under a tax evasion law. Be very careful how you do this and make sure you're doing it the right way. Work with these companies. but male, especially, domicile, very important. Next.
Live your own journey.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Do not try to be us because it's not going to work for you.
Nope.
And we say that to everybody, and especially in the world that we're in, where YouTube has become as big as it is, and everybody is peddling a lifestyle to you because they have an agenda. And I'm not going to go off on one of my rants today. If you want those rants, go through the archives. They're there. But everybody has an agenda, and everybody has a reason to tell you that why their life is the best life. In reality, your life is the best life, and that is the only life that you should be living, because you only get
One.
one life to live. Wow, is that Erica Kane? Isn't she like 85 years old now? But that's
Susan Lucci.
Yeah, isn't that all we had on from the Book of
That's
Knowledge
it.
today?
That's it for this one.
Before I go off talking about Luke and Laura from General Hospital, I remember those days. Well, we've been that couple for that long. If there's something that we missed, or you feel that we just did not touch on enough, or well, you just want to correct my English, leave it in the comments below, because well, that's what Karri is here for. She answers each and every one of your comments, whether it comes through on email, whether it comes on Facebook, whether you've got friends with Tom and you send her a MySpace message, she'll reply to that, because there is no call center, there's no team, there's nobody working for us. It's just her
us
and me, and well,
you.
Till next time, I'm Bob.
I'm Karri.
Life Redesigned. That's what this is all about. Bye.
Bye.